I saw the Spongebob musical in Birmingham, and these are my thoughts after a couple days of really being able to collect them together. This review is more so to give my thoughts about the UK tour, so it's not going to go heavily into the plot of the musical. There's enough reviews of that already online. So let's start with the most important casting choice in the UK tour, which is Spongebob Squarepants himself, played by Lewis Cornet. He has potentially the hardest job in the entire musical, not only performing many songs, but he's going up against some of the greats like Ethan Slater and Tom Kenny, and he delivers flawlessly. It's hard to go into the musical without pre-expectations, but I would definitely recommend you give Cornet a proper shot, as you'll be surprised at how great his performance actually is. I would say it's a decidedly different performance of SpongeBob, and one that works surprisingly well. Cornet plays a more youthful portrayal of SpongeBob as compared to Slater, which makes more of a difference than you'd expect on how you relate to the character. Slater's performance feels older, as though you feel as though Mr. Krabs should give him a chance at being manager, and even though SpongeBob is doubting himself, he has this air of confidence, as if he knows deep down he's actually right. Cornet's performance, on the other hand, feels a lot more youthful, and you start to doubt as to whether the other characters are actually right, and that SpongeBob is out of his depth. This change in how old the character feels makes a larger difference than you'd expect, and it really elevates Cornet's performance. It's different, but I'd argue that if you can cast your biases aside, it's definitely up there with Slater and Tom Kenny. I do hope that Cornet gets the recognition he deserves, given the performance is great. It feels like many people haven't given him a shot just because he's not Ethan Slater, which in reality, even though his performance is slightly different, is still outstanding. The other standout performance is Davina DeCampo as Plankton. The change in outfit design gives DeCampo a different look from the other performances, but I really like it, and it pairs really nicely with a performance that is lively and engaging. Not really an analysis, unlike the SpongeBob section, just a really great performance all round. The rest of the cast also give great performances. Irfan Demani gives a great performance as Patrick, and immediately pulls you into the performance that feels just like Patrick. Chrissy Beamer plays Sandy and is perfect for the role. Sarah Freer plays Pearl, and as usual for people who play Pearl, she has an incredible voice. Richard J. Hunt plays Krabs, a great performance. Hannah Lofer plays Karen, and the mix of an entirely new outfit plus the performance elevates it well. Some of the minor characters, I think you could take it or leave it with their performances, so whether you enjoy them or not, they're only minor characters. I think I'd really have to watch it again to really figure out my thoughts on some of the minor character performances. The only performance I unfortunately didn't gel with, and this isn't a reflector on the actor at all, is Gareth Gates as Squidward. Given my analysis of SpongeBob, it feels like direction-wise that Gates plays a slightly older version of Squidward. Other performances of Squidward feel like at the late 20s, and that Squidward is stuck in a dead-end job. Gates' performance feels more like mid-30s, especially with some of the costume design, which when put into the context of the musical, definitely makes more sense with how jaded he is. That being said, I didn't gel with that slightly older performance of Squidward. That's not to say it was a bad performance, far from it, and if that was what their intended direction was, then Gates pulls it off incredibly well. But for me, this direction of the character didn't really gel with me. I'd be interested to see how Tom Reed Wilson plays Squidward. Depending on the show you watch, you may either see Gareth Gates or Tom Reed Wilson, so I'm greatly considering going to watch it again and comparing both performances. The one change I wasn't as much of a fan of is making Perch Perkins, played by Richard Arnold, being shown on the screen rather than being present on stage. His performance was great, but relegating it to only a screen makes it somewhat limited as to what they can do with the choreography. There were unfortunately a couple small technical hiccups during the show, mainly the stage right, house left, they have a TV screen, and it had issues with going to standby and glitching out. That being said, that was pretty much the only technical hiccup, but it should still be noted. Hopefully they can figure out whatever that was, and it'll be sorted for the next performances. It won't matter either way, as when they leave Birmingham it'll get changed anyway. The set design is impressive, and seeing it in person is definitely a different experience from looking at it on the TV screen. Especially during the climax of the show, the moving set design is always a sight to see. I very much preferred how they show SpongeBob's house, as he actually has a bed to sleep in now. I enjoyed Gary being a plush this time round, especially as it seems to be lighter weight to carry. Music is great as ever, not much to say about that. I think one of my major critiques for the show has to come around marketing. Given only half the theatre seats were filled, and that I had concerns about the show going in, it seems like the marketing hasn't been that successful. I don't think the marketing shows how great a show it actually is and how well these actors perform. Better marketing would go a long way into getting it in front of more people. It's definitely worth your watch, but I think the marketing has done it a disservice. It made me doubt the quality of the show before I went in, which is fairly unfair to the actors who play each character. Overall, if you're unsure about going to see the UK tour of Spongebob Squarepants the Musical, I would lay your worries to rest. Some of the choices may feel different to the other performances, but that does not mean worse. The cast really pull the show together, and I think it's a disservice to try and compare them to the previous casts, especially when they bring something new to the table.